Coach Jerisha, and I want to share with you guys how I became a life coach in that process. So let's get into it. So my journey began in 2022. So I am a social worker by trade. I went to school for social work. I got my master's in social work, and that's what I did. I worked in social services for a while in different capacities. I worked at prisons. I've worked at homeless shelters. I've worked at all kinds of things, okay? And I met this lady who was the CEO of a rehabilitation house. And I was always very interested in it, but I didn't know anything about it, didn't know how to go about it. And I always was just curious because she would come every week. They would host groups there. And I was like, lady, how do I start doing what you're doing? And she told me she got a master's in social work, and that was her journey of how she became, which is so crazy to me now, but she became CEO of the company that she worked at. And I was like, bet. So I literally took that and ran with it. I applied for a master's of social work at Tennessee State University, and I got accepted. And so actually I applied at Middle Tennessee State University, and they denied me, but the same program was at TSU, and they accepted me. I went to an HBCU, so everybody was Black, which is really cool. We had a little sprinkle in the class, but it was really empowering to be a part of a cohort of mostly all Black people, social workers. That was cool because I've always went to predominantly white schools, okay? So went to get my degree, graduated, and I worked in social services up until 2022. Now, during this time, I was like, do this anymore. I don't want to do this anymore. I was burnt out, but also like I just knew there was more. I just knew there was more. And so I was like, God, what do I do? And during that time, the Lord was already dealing with me about like things that he had for me to do. I was seeking him for, the direction of purpose. What do you have for me to do? And so he laid on my heart purpose coach initially. And I was like, oh, that's perfect, because I'm always talking about purpose. I'm always telling people to pursue purpose. During this time, I had already written my book, Millennium on Fire, The Truth About Living for Christ. And that book, a big portion of that book is about purpose. And so I was like, okay, God, that makes sense. When God tells me to do something, and this can be a great asset or a great feature, and also can be a little bad because you got to wait on instructions sometimes. But this time I did the right thing, okay? I was like, okay, let me look. How do I get certified for a life coach? Because I don't have a clue. I looked online, right? And then I found Dr. India. So shout out to Dr. India Logan. She is a phenomenal woman of God who trains people to be a Christian life coach. And so I found her on Instagram. I had been following her for a while, and it just like clicked, like Dr. India. And so during that time, she had just launched her first academy for Christian life coaching. So I was like, okay. So she was hosting an informational, right? And she hosted an informational, gave us all the information. We were her first class. And I was like, okay, it was just confirmation after confirmation after confirmation. I remember I was sitting in a Walmart parking lot listening to the information about the class. And I was like, oh my God, God sent me here. And so, yeah, I did the program. It was self-paced. But the beautiful thing about the program was she did weekly lives on every Sunday. We would get together, talk about the material, whatever the Lord gave her during that time. She would release it. She would pray over us. She really was like a mentor for us in that time. And I bless God for her. I thank God for her because she birthed something huge during that. And so I did that, I'm going to say about 4 months. I believe about 4 months. I did the coaching class. I did the courses. I did the homework. We had to do training hours as well where we would coach each other, which was super cool. each week. So it was a lot of experience, a lot of things happening that was really powerful, and I really recommend, if you're looking for a Christian life coach certification, Dr. Indy is your girl, okay? So yeah, I did that. That was an investment. I believe it was about $2,200 of an investment, but the benefits of it are still reaping, okay? So yeah, I did that, and I was like, yeah, got my certification, let's roll. So I established my first business ever, Love Life on Purpose coaching. I didn't know what I was doing, okay? No clue what I was doing. So much so, I was like, okay, I'm not making any profit from this. Also, during this time, I'm still being a full-time social worker. So I was working full-time social work and still trying to build this business. And then it got to the point I was like, okay, I'm not making any money. This is a lot going on. I'm going to shut this down. And by this time, I had shut it down because it was just too much. And I began to do hair because I was like, I want to do something that makes me happy. This is not making me happy. This is draining me. And I don't know what I'm doing. So let me just focus on working and doing hair, because I had already started doing that. I already knew how to do that. Let me just build this hair business. And so I went and ventured off and started my hair business and started doing hair for a while. And then, the coaching situation, I never put it up like I'm not going to do that again. It was like, I got to wait for a better time for this, because right now I just can't. And so, Lord and behold, 2023, we end up getting an opportunity to come to Tallahassee, Florida. I'm like, okay, going to Tallahassee, Florida. I'm going to look for me a job. I'm going to build so I can start my business up. My goal was to start my business back up, and I was going to do hair, and I was going to do my coaching. And so we came here, and that did not happen the way I thought.